Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. My name is Pia.
My name is Milan.
And today we're going to talk to you guys, or I'm going to talk to you and you guys about The Road to Le Mans, the film featuring Michael Fassbender's journey to participate in Le Mans. Leading up to next weekend is the big 2024 Le Mans. We're going to go on our very personal journey of the Road to Le Mans. So this video is going to kick off our Road to Le Mans. So without much further ado, intro.
All right. So I will say
Yes.
this video or this film has popped up many times on YouTube. You can watch it for free on YouTube.
Yes, that's exactly how I watched it. I've had it in my watch later playlist for probably ever since it came out.
Oh, interesting.
Which is 6 months.
Okay. I thought it was out longer.
No, at least it's been on YouTube for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
So I've had it in my watch list ever since then. I knew I wanted to watch it leading up to Le Mans to kind of get me excited for it and also get me prepared for it.
Because I thought, and I mean, you will fill me in on this.
Yes.
Is that I thought this came out before last year's Le Mans.
No, it came out after. I had thought so too.
Interesting, because I know that he was in last year's Le Mans,
Yes.
and I also know how it unfortunately ended.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see if the movie covers any of that.
It does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought it was very interesting. So it starts off very cinematically.
Okay.
So there's this shot of like this camera in a dark forest, and it slowly goes through the forest, and then there's just like lights passing very fast.
It's a Porsche.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of the forest sections at Le Mans, and it just drives through it and gets closer to the track, and you have the noise of the cars. So it's actually really cool.
That's cool, yeah.
At first I was like, wait, is this the right thing that I'm watching?
Some type of horror movie.
It gave me a little bit of horror movie vibes. But that's just how it kicked off. And then there was this long section of where they're rewrapping the car. So basically this movie covers Michael Fassbender's story preparing for his first Le Mans, participating in his first Le Mans, participating in his second Le Mans. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, do you know if he's going to be in it this year?
No, he's not. I checked the entry list because I was curious. But after watching the movie, it kind of makes sense.
Okay, so tell me.
Yes. So spoiler alert, there's going to be lots of spoilers. I'm not going to not say anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the movie in depth now.
Exactly. So if you definitely want to watch it, definitely check it out. It's on YouTube for free to watch. It's on the Porsche channel. We'll add a link in the description below so you guys can watch it. And you can always come back afterwards, or maybe this video will entice you to actually watch it.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like this documentary about, his road to Le Mans. And what I didn't know so starting off, Michael Fassbender, very famous actor. He was Magneto in X-Men. I mean, he's been in so many
In the prequels,
things.
he was in...
It always
Shut up.
pops up.
He was in the Alien Covenant
yes.
movie. So, so he's a famous dude.
His IMDb is long.
Yeah.
And but he was saying in the video or in the film that his first love was racing. And then he just said it wasn't reasonable for him to race because it is very expensive, which is also interesting because acting is also expensive partially, but it's not the same thing, of course. But then he had he had a plan that if he does well with acting, at 40, he might retire and then switch to racing. That was like always in his mind.
I will say, I think when you were saying, so people understand, is like about acting being expensive, is that taking acting lessons.
Yes.
And stuff like that can be very, very expensive.
And having...
and like getting your headshots done and stuff like that, it is very expensive, but like racing is even more expensive.
Of course.
Yeah, just to clarify so people understand what you meant with acting is like expensive.
Thank you, because I know.
Yeah, because I know what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah, thank you for clarifying. But basically we get kind of introduced to his hometown, his upbringing, which is really nice. But essentially what kicks off his racing is he runs into Patrick Dempsey.
Yes. Okay. I had a feeling that might be a thing.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So Patrick Dempsey is big into Porsche. He has the Dempsey Foundation as well.
He has his own racing team now, I think.
Yes, exactly. So
Patrick Dempsey also being an actor. He was famously
Grey's Anatomy,
what is it, McDreamy or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
So anyways, so he meets him or runs into him on a flight, I think, to LA, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to. My dream is to participate in Le Mans." And then so Patrick kind of introduces him to Sebastian Borowski, who is I'm not 100% certain what his position is. I tried Googling him afterwards as well. Like he's listed as a producer of the film, but I think he's kind of like the team owner or the team manager because he's always there. He's during the whole Le Mans, he's there also talking to the strategists, making the final decisions. So I think he's the team manager, but he's quite young. So
you think he's like a Total Wolf, Christian Horner situation? Like he's a team principal.
Sorry, exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah. So I think that's kind of his title, maybe a little bit more, but for sure that. So so he gets introduced to them and they start talking and they're like, well, you have to start at the Cup Series. So
Porsche Cup Series.
Exactly. So
there's a lot of them. You can watch them for free. Check it out.
Yes, definitely. So he starts off at the Cup Series. He gets a coach, Felipe Laser, who's also a race car driver.
I've actually seen him because I've watched the Porsche Cup Series before and I've seen him race on Spielberg.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And so he participates in the Cup Series. He gets some lessons at first. And then they're like, okay, he has some talent. There's something in there, and he works
I'm not surprised.
really hard at it, which I'm also not surprised. And then he was also talking about, which I can only try to imagine, the feeling of, because I mean we've seen Hockenheimring, we've seen Spielberg so many times on TV, but being there
in a car,
but also being there in a car,
I can't imagine. That must be magic.
I mean, goosebumps.
Yeah.
Just trying to imagine it. But basically, so they go through that, and he competes in 4 seasons of car racing before his first Le Mans race, which I think is nice to hear that he did put in work and hours and time. And then they assembled a team for him. Felipe Laser was supposed to be part of his team, his silver driver. However, he got a call from the FIA that he was upgraded. So, which is, I guess, great. But then he lost his spot on the team because they already had a gold driver on the team. So, yeah. So, anyways, they go to the first Le Mans and he struggles. Like, it's a lot of also, like, mental. Like, he understands the weight of, because the team has been built for him, essentially. So, he wants to do well. He wants to... just do well to make everybody's times worth it, but also to like get something maybe more out of it for the team, like a nice placement. You know what I mean? Because they did place on the podiums during the ELMS championship. So he went from Cup to ELMS and then eventually Le Mans. But his first Le Mans in 2022 did not go well. So he, in his practice session...
no, that's such a bummer because I know what happens in 2023.
I know, but there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel there. So basically, during his practice session, or during one of the team members' practice sessions, they noticed that the front axle was feeling a little funky. So they had to end the practice sessions and fix the car, which took away time from everybody to be in the car. So he's like, hey guys, is there any chance I can drive the car during qualifying for a little bit just so I can get more time on the track? Because of course he spent time in the simulator, but it's not the same. Yeah.
It is very close apparently.
Yeah.
But it is 100% something else, you know? And I think also like if you're a professional race driver and especially like the younger F1 dudes and stuff like that, they're like, you know, we're fine with the sim because they kind of grew up with this. But if you're not adjusted and in tuned like that, you're not a pro race driver. I could see that you're like, let me just get as much time in the car as I can.
Exactly. So he went up to his team and was like, hey guys, is there any chance I can get into the car during qualifying to just get in a couple of laps? And they're like, yes, bet. We'll get you in the car. He crashes the car.
Fuck, I knew you were going to say that. Oh, no.
But it wasn't his fault.
Oh, okay, good.
So it wasn't, I'm trying to remember.
Was the incident with another driver or was a car failure?
I'm trying to remember right now. I think that crash was his fault.
Okay.
So he crashed out, and then they had to fix the car, of course, and then that's when his spiral happened.
Of course. You crashed the car before the big event.
Yes.
Fuck.
And it was, I mean, it's so sad, and but it was kind of, it's gonna sound so shitty, but it was kind of nice to see that, just to experience that like what he was going through, and he was really explaining it, that he was just like, it just started there and then just went like, and then he got into the car, of course, during the race, and then he was like, he couldn't get into a rhythm, like things just didn't click, and
your mind is not there 100%.
Yes, and he had so much pressure on him because he was like, I have to do well now for the other guys and everything. So he was driving Le Mans 2022, then he crashes again during the race. However, this time it was not his fault. It was for sure not his fault. He was making way for a hypercar to pass him, and he was already pretty much almost off track. That's how far off out of the way he got. But the car just almost like dived him, or dove into him, and then out.
Fucking idiot.
And then he felt so bad.
Yeah, but it's like, in this case, like, I understand why he feels so terrible, because like he caused the first crash.
Yeah.
But it's like, literally, it sounds to me like he did everything right, and the other driver was not paying attention.
No, and then everybody was like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
But it's hard.
But you can't, it doesn't go into your brain, which I get. And he's like, and then after that race, he was like, why am I doing this?
Oh, no.
I don't love racing anymore. Like, it was so stressful for him, and you could see it in his face. I felt like he aged, during that time, and it was just like,
that sucks.
So tough to see. And I mean, those race car drivers, a lot of them are very lean, skinny lean, almost. Some of them, not everybody, but he just looked like
a skeleton.
Not a skeleton,
but very skinny.
But very
because he's also not a particularly big guy. He's always been on the slim side, it looks like.
I mean, we've seen him a little bit muscular before. Yeah, there's a couple movies where he was not big, but more muscly than he was in this. So
Diesel.
But so it was it was really sad to see. And he was like, I lost my joy on racing. So he's like, what am I even doing? Why am I doing this? So he went to karting. And then he was like, after karting races, he had a smile on his face. And he's like, this is what I was missing. And then after doing this for a little bit, he talked to the team again. And he's like, hey, guys, can we do this again? And they're like, let's do this again. So they talked to the sponsors. They got everybody on board, which was really cool. And then they went into prep again. They had a different silver driver for the second time round, but they had the same gold driver. And
then Michael is a bronze?
Yes, he's the amateur driver.
So Le Mans has 3 driver categories.
Yes.
So you can't have Max Verstappen, Alonso, and you couldn't have all of those guys in one team.
Well, it also depends on the driving class, the vehicle type. We'll
get
into
into
that.
I think with the hypercar you can, but in the GT cars you cannot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so then they were getting ready for the second Le Mans, and things were working better. He was in a better mindset. He was enjoying racing again, and the whole team could feel it. Even the test in Barcelona prior to Le Mans, things went better because it was a different mindset. People went in to be like, all right, this is a test. This doesn't have to be perfect. We'll fix it once after the test. So everybody was feeling in a bigger way. And then Le Mans 2023.
I will also say, I think Barcelona is almost a more difficult track than Le Mans.
Yeah.
Because as far as I remember, we have a lot more you have, I mean, I don't know how if they race it the way F1 races, you have at the end, you have you have some tighter turns, and then you have the chicane before you get to the end. I don't know if they switched it up, but Le Mans, you have a lot of straights. Then you have a chicane, then you have another straight and stuff like that. I really like racing Le Mans on the sim, obviously not in real life. So I wouldn't consider Le Mans a super tricky track.
Oh, okay, gotcha. However, Le Mans 2023 was super tricky.
Yes, because of the rain and stuff like that. I'm not saying I'm the best or whatever.
No,
but it's kind of every track obviously comes incredibly more difficult.
Yes.
When there's rain, and then also especially because in Le Mans and stuff like that, you have amateur racers who probably don't have that much experience racing in the rain.
So that's exactly that comes into play for Le Mans 2023 now. So they're ready. They're starting. They're in their LM GT3 category, or
Le Mans
no,
GT3.
Actually, no. But in 2023, it was still GT3 AM category.
Yes, it wasn't
so
LM
now
yet.
It's switching.
But the LM just stands for Le Mans. It's just a little confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so they go into the race, and it's already being called a wet race right from the start, right? You remember I watched majority of it. I don't know if you watched all of it.
The Le Mans race?
Yeah.
Beach, you watched it because of me.
No, I know. I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember if you watched it from the very beginning.
Yeah, I watched it from the very beginning.
Because I know I joined you during the night.
I was like, girl, what do you mean? I watched the whole... Yes. But it was also very tricky because it... Sorry, we're arguing about this because we didn't watch it live.
No, yeah, we watched it afterwards.
We watched it afterwards. I just randomly was like, yeah, I'm going to watch Le Mans right now. And then I watched it over a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then you joined in. You were like, what is this? And then it was an amazing race.
Yes.
But also it was very difficult because you had rain also at night.
Yes.
And like at night it's pitch black.
I mean, so let me get into this because it was called a wet race right from the beginning. They start at 3 p.m. local time, so it's in the afternoon. They still have a couple hours of sun before we go into the big dark night at Le Mans. So anyways, it starts. So he starts off the race.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they no. Yes. Sorry.
Because usually you have someone who gets to start the race,
yes,
someone who does the best time,
yes,
or gets to push for best time, and then someone who finishes the race.
Yeah. Wait. Give me a second.
Usually that's an agreement.
Yes.
The drivers usually do because then everyone gets to do something cool.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I don't remember 100% right now if he started the race, but I know the strategy was to get a lot of his hours in as soon as possible, because as a bronze driver, the rule is he has to drive 6 hours.
6 hours, and you probably want to avoid him driving during the most difficult times.
Exactly. So the idea was to avoid him driving at night. So they're trying to get in a lot of hours at the first part of the day, and then have some flexibility with plugging him in a little bit later. But then, of course, the rain almost immediately starts. So then, as soon as the rain starts, they're like, "Whoa, how wet is it? How rainy is it?" But as soon as they're noticing, oh, people are crashing out left and right, they're like, okay, let's bring him in. Let's bring in our gold driver. So Richard Lietz, Austrian driver, he's the one that drove for him. Or drove with him. He took over then, and then
I think it's just the best call to make.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Now I remember. He didn't start. He was brought in pretty fast, and then, after the first stint. But then he only got like 20 something minutes in the car because it started raining. So then they brought him out. They had the other guys driving for a while. Then when it got rained, or when the rain finished and things were a little bit safer, they brought him back out. He raced another like 20 or so minutes, and the rain started coming down again. So they're like, we have to take him out. They were trying to wait as long as possible just to give him time in the car, because it was starting to get dark, and they were like, well, we're running out of time. I mean, granted, there were still like 17 plus hours in the race, but they're like, well, there's a big chunk of darkness happening where they were trying to avoid having him drive. So they took him out of the car again. But then they couldn't find the goal driver, because he thought he had time.
Yeah, of course.
And then they had to go into his like container room and be like, hey, you're up. And he's like, oh.
And you have to get yourself like mentally prepared too.
Yeah, exactly. But then Fassbender went back. And
they didn't want to put the silver in?
No, because I think he just had done the other stint maybe.
Oh, of course. That makes...
Right before.
Okay. Before Michael came in.
Yeah, exactly.
So you needed to rest him.
Exactly. So then he comes out, and then Michael tries to go to sleep. So his next stint is at like 3 something a.m. And the goal is for him to eventually do like double stints. So a stint is considered an hour, I guess, or that's how they considered it in the film. So they were like, we'll have to do 2-hour stints with you just to knock out the time, right? And then he wakes up at 3 and he's like, I'm so tired. I mean, understandably so. He got like maybe an hour of sleep in.
Yeah, and I could see that it's like with everything, I'm not surprised if you have a hard time finding quality sleep.
Yeah, first of all, falling asleep, then how much time do you have falling asleep, and then waking up, and
then like, the quality of sleep.
Yeah, and then he was also trying to figure out like, how can I get myself like back up again to like to like have the energy to drive. And then he got into the car, and it was rough.
Yeah.
He couldn't find a rhythm. He couldn't, his lap times were suffering. And then he started like talking on the radio a lot. And then the other guys were like, that's a bad sign. If a driver talks a lot,
because then you're not focused.
You're not in your flow. You're not in your rhythm. And his times were like 4:06, 4:11, 4:12, something like that. And he was like,
lap times.
I'll get into more in that in just a second. But so he was like, this is not what I want. So he was really upset about it. And he's like, the car is not like, it's snapping and it's not braking enough. And they're like, the guy, Sebastian Borowski, who I had mentioned, he was like off the radio talking to his strategist, just tell him to shut up. Tell him to focus. He can do it. Just be like nice about it, but stern. Just like tell him to just shut up and drive because he needs to like
be Rihanna. Yeah. Shut up and drive.
But he's like, we can't take him out of the car. Like
he has
needs to be in the car. And then eventually something flipped in his head, and he was like flowing.
Perfect.
Like,
I could
so
also
nice.
see that you like when it wasn't working right away. It's like maybe you also almost have like PTSD from the previous year. You have like, oh my god, it's not working, and this and this and this and this and this and this, and like nothing has been going according to plan so far. You know. So it's nice that he was able to find his rhythm.
So his best time was 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
Okay.
And that was like when he heard that, he was like, yes.
The reason why I just made that face, I was like 4 minutes. Because I was like, my best time I was like is 7 minutes. But I forgot I was thinking about Nordschleife.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, how is he 3 minutes faster than me and I'm driving on a fucking sim? No, I was thinking about the wrong track.
Well, you'll be driving the Le Mans track, so you can see.
I have my
3:59 is your goal now.
3:59, okay, to be because I have my practice tomorrow with my trainer Gianni.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we're gonna practice the track.
Perfect. Yeah. So 3:59 is the goal, but then eventually, They do a double stint with him, and he's like, guys, I'm flowing. I'm like in the rhythm right now. Let me stay in for another stint. And then they're talking behind the scenes. They're like, whoa, a third stint is a lot. Like we'll have to change the tires, of course, because you can't do a third stint on the tires. But like, what should we do? Should we because like once a driver goes, like falls off, he might fall off hard, so they're trying to wage, but he says he's good, he feels physically fit. So then Sebastian, he's the one who makes the overall call, and he's just like, okay, leave him in the car, leave him in. And about like 3 laps before he finishes his stint,
that's when
he crashed.
Okay, I will say though that spot where he crashed, like no lying, probably 10 other people crashed out too, because it's that curb that was leading towards the end of the race, and a lot of people lost their car. And I think it had a combination with it being still maybe a little bit wet, and there's not a lot of grip, and then you just like, I think he just lost the back tire on the right. I think the curb, and it was a lot. I think the Hertz team Joda lost their hypercar in that corner. There's so many cars that lost, so I mean, of course it's unfortunate, but I will say, like, I remember this very vividly, that there were so many people who lost, the race ended for them in that very specific place.
He did say he felt like it was like an amateur mistake that he did. It was like maybe like a lapse of, and then this was so sweet. Afterwards, his strategist, Roberto, he was so down. He was like, I should have taken him out of the car. It was my call. Technically it was Sebastian's call, but he felt so bad. And he was like, I should have just like taken him out after the 2 stints. That should have been enough. And he was like, he had like tears in his eyes. And then Michael Fassbender afterwards went up and he was like, he apologized to everybody. But he was like so happy.
Okay.
Like he was,
because he had a good experience in the car.
Yes, he had like his last stint was just so good. He felt like in his flow and the rhythm, and he got the 3:59, his best time, and like it was it was almost as good as it could have gone, especially after like this big spiral right before, and then considering it was a crazy race with the rain. So I think that's why maybe he also decided he doesn't have to come back, because he did his Le Mans race,
Yeah, and I'm also thinking maybe he wants to maybe like take a break, and maybe he will come back in a few years or something. Because the cool thing also is with endurance racing and stuff like this, like you could still race it in your like 60s. Like
I was gonna say you don't have to be 20.
You don't
in
have
your
to be.
20s,
It's not like F1. If you're not in your early 20s and in an F1 car, you're done. It's there's so many. There's I think in D Station Racing, there's a Japanese driver, and I think he's well into his 60s, and he's competing.
Yeah.
And I mean it's the GT category. You're not doing this in probably in a hypercar, even though in hypercars you still have some
older
racers. So it's really cool. So I'm not saying that we're never gonna see him back, because I would love to see him, and I'm not saying like, oh, I want to see him on the podium. I just want them to be able to complete a race,
like finish a
race.
Yes.
And then also like especially last year there were a lot of DNFs, you know.
Oh, so
you know,
many.
and I will say, you know, even though it ended like this, I have a lot of respect for him for doing this. It's like you do this at an age where this is not normal for people to start racing. Even start racing, and to put in the time. You did 4 seasons, right? You did some karting and stuff like that.
And then also just going into that, because he still acted. So his life was basically, he was explaining, so April to October was his racing time, and then during November through March was the only time he really like filmed things, because his focus was really on
good thing
racing.
He got a wife that make the money while he's gone. Just kidding. But I mean, of course, like he had like it's awesome that he was able to structure his a life around that. But it's a lot of props, because there are a lot of people on the track who do this like full time. They don't take like 4 months off or whatever to do other things. And I don't know if you remember this, when he crashed out last year in the race, also the commentators came out and to really defend him, you know, because it does happen, and this is just part of racing, especially if you're an amateur rookie racer. You see it in F1. All people crash and make mistakes all the time, and those are supposed to be the best of the best,
the pinnacle
of motorsport, you know, and they're still making mistakes, right? And if you go into any other categories, that's just what happens, you know. But I'm glad that he was able to walk away with this with like a good
yes,
thing.
That's why I thought, because I remember feeling so sad last year when we saw him crash out, because he was doing well and he was in the car for a while, and then it was heartbreaking. But it's just seeing that he felt like he was obviously upset about it, but then he's
not gonna be like
no, but then he was like, you know what, it was overall a really great experience. And then he still continued karting afterwards. I didn't get a chance to look up if he still does other types of racing right now, but I know he karts for sure.
Karting is also like, it takes a less effort to like do it, because you can just go to a karting place, and then maybe if you have your own, bring your own or whatever. But it's like going and doing actual real life racing is a lot more effort, because there's a lot more people that need to be involved.
Goes a lot more into it.
So I'm happy that he still does that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, but overall I think it was a really interesting film. I was hoping to learn a little bit more about the technical stuff about Le Mans, but I guess I understand why it wasn't, because it was about his journey about joining Le Mans or getting to Le Mans, which was really cool to see. And it almost makes it almost doable, you know. As like a outside person, especially. Also, I read that the LMGT3 class now is considered like the gentleman's class. Like not anybody can join, but it's the one time, or one of the few times, like regular people can really join such a big prestigious race. Like of course there goes a lot into it, money, and you still need to have a certain amount of experience, but it seems more doable.
Let me just ask, he didn't participate in any of the other WEC races in that year?
I only know they mentioned the EMLS.
Because you know how we had now this year, we already had
like Spa and Qatar and stuff like that. I don't remember them saying any of those things, but I'm trying to
because they're also not required to. Because I know they usually have a roster of drivers, but I was just wondering.
I don't know for sure. It's not that they've talked about it.
I wonder if it's possible, if maybe it would also be a good experience, or like a better thing if you would have done a different endurance race first to get your feet a little bit wet, and then go to Le Mans.
Gotcha.
Just so you've already maybe got a little bit acclimated.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I honestly don't know for sure what the EMLS class is, if it includes endurance. I think it must, because they still do 3 drivers. It's just, I don't think it's maybe officially part of the WEC. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a really enjoyable watch.
So you would give it a recommend?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially free, right?
Yeah, it's
and
free.
Literally anyone can watch it. You don't even need to have a YouTube account to watch that.
And I mean, it's also cool because they show, of course, you can watch onboard footage on YouTube in general, but it was just like kind of cool to see. They had the onboard footage showing while they were racing in the rain at night, and it's like you don't see any, like, it's really just doing your line that you know, and you see the lights from the car in front of you. And
yeah, because there's also, because Le Mans, if you're not familiar with, it's a combination of a track and a street.
Yes.
So I believe, if I remember this correctly, all the street parts, there's no light. There's no like street lights or any like lighting. So the only light that you have is from you and other cars, if there's cars around you.
Yes.
And then it's just like, you know, that's like recently there was some backlash because there was the 24-hour Nürburgring race that was red flagged for like 12 hours because it was so foggy. But I'm like, yeah, but because it's also not fucking safe, guys.
No, it's
like,
not.
If you cannot see anything and you're going like 200 kilometers an hour, like, it's not safe.
No,
you know?
No, it's not worth it.
And I get people are upset. It's like, oh, you know, I made time for this and stuff like that. Yeah, but people's safety will always have to be
yeah,
it's more important.
Your enjoyment.
Yeah, honestly, you know,
No, but I mean, I'm getting really excited now about
I'm so excited. I can't believe it's just like a week away.
Yes. So if you guys don't already know, we will be live streaming a watch party hangout for the entire 24 hours. We were preparing ourselves for it. We're going to do another video this weekend where we're breaking down the 5 most important things, or the six things you need to know to get ready for Le Mans. And then we're going to also document our journey of us getting ready for our 24-hour live stream.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. In my 30s now, I haven't been up for 24 hours.
I know. I mean,
a long time.
I recently was close to it on set, but
it's a little bit differently because you were moving around and busy.
I was just going to say that.
We're going to be sitting on the couch.
Exactly. So
it's very comfy.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting, but please definitely join us for it. We won't be able to live stream the race, of course, out of legal reasons, but it's going to be, if you're here in the US, you can watch it on Max. It's on there. We're going to watch it on Max ourselves. So if you want to tune in and hang out with us, please do. We will appreciate all the company we can get.
Yeah. So Canada and US, I believe it's both HBO Max. Everyone else, I mean, check it on the website. But I believe if you have the WEC, so World Endurance Championship TV app, you can watch it on there. You don't have to sign up for the whole year. They also have just a Le Mans package. So you can just pay to only watch Le Mans on there.
Perfect.
I would highly recommend watching it via the website and not the app, because the app sucks. We made a whole video about it. Check it out.
Yes, definitely. But I think that concludes our video for today. Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope we got you excited for Le Mans 2024. Remember to give us a lovely little like and a subscribe.
And of course, leave a comment. If you watched the video, are you excited for Le Mans? Are you ready? Are you going to be watching? I was talking to Gianni, and he was talking about like he's excited for it for Sunday morning. And I was like,
oh, because in Australia, it's a different time.
Sunday, because for us, it's 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
In Europe, it's 3 p.m.
Or France, at least. Yeah.
And then, of course, Australia will be in the future already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, tune in, leave a comment, check in, say hi. And then we'll see you guys again here at the Daily Racing Show with Race Plaza Media.
Bye-bye.